Hello, I'm here in Bentham, a very cold but very beautiful Bentham, to tell you all about the government's launch of a new and very exciting strategy for community rail partnerships. Bentham railway station serves the small town of High Bentham in North Yorkshire. It lies on the Leeds to Morecambe line, and the station has recently been branded as a gateway to the Forest of Bowland, a designated area of outstanding natural beauty. This beautiful station building, built in the 1950s, is now privately owned and is the home of the Friends of Bentham Station and the Leeds, Lancaster and Morecambe Community Rail Partnership. And that is the reason for my visit. It has been my privilege to attend a train naming ceremony that took place earlier today, one that celebrates a very significant, exciting and important community rail initiative in supporting people living with the debilitating effects of dementia. This has been conceived and led by the Leeds Morecambe Community Rail Partnership on the Bentham line. There are estimated to be approaching 1 million people in the UK living with dementia. The partnership, with the support of ACORP and Northern, has worked incredibly hard over the past 18 months to create and deliver the first dementia-friendly railway line in Britain. Britain's railways are fully committed to making the network accessible and welcoming to all, and the positive lead taken by the Leeds Morecambe Community Rail Partnership and Northern Rail with regard to social inclusion and support for those with hidden disabilities such as dementia is a very much welcomed beacon for the rest of the railway to follow. I hope other community lines and train operating companies will look closely at what this partnership has achieved. As you know, community rail was conceived as a grassroots movement to revitalise neglected and at-risk parts of the network. Communities came together to safeguard the future of their local lines, and combining their local knowledge have helped transform lines into thriving feeders to the rest of the rail network. Work often centred on turning around unloved stations into welcoming environments, places where people could feel safe and comfortable as the partnerships and station adopters set about promoting the services on an individual line. And in doing so, they played a very important part in raising awareness of their line and attracting increased ridership. Overall, our railways have seen a doubling of passenger numbers in the last 20 years. But due to their efforts, some community rail lines have seen far higher growth than even this. However, since the government published the first community rail development strategy for England and Wales in 2004, community rail activity has evolved way beyond that initial concept by successfully harnessing the support of local communities and the rail industry for all kinds of initiatives. This is not to say the imperative of attracting new ridership to local lines does not remain key. It remains the bedrock. But the ambition of community rail partnerships is to do so much more for our local communities. Against that background, the Department for Transport undertook a 12-week public consultation that ended in January 2018. And on the basis of the responses we received, we have formulated a new community rail strategy that provides the framework which you asked for to bring community rail to the fore and really flourish as inclusive, independent and sustainable railway-based community action groups. The strategy is based around 4 key pillars. The first of these is providing a voice for the community. We want you to be the advocates for local people's views, along with their wants and needs from the rail industry to improve local transport provision. Ongoing constructive dialogue with the industry is central to achieving this. The second pillar is to promote sustainable, healthy and accessible travel. That means working much more closely with other transport providers, authorities and organisations to develop integrated transport systems around stations to encourage a modal shift to walking, cycling and public transport. Rail should be seen as a key part of sustainable and healthy journeys, And part of this strategy must be to work with schools, colleges and youth groups to promote travelling by rail to increase access to education, employment and recreational opportunities. Community rail organisations' work with children and young people is also key, including those with special educational needs and disabilities. The volunteers who facilitate the incredibly popular Santa Specials are to be singled out for praise. This is an annual challenge that requires time and much patience by all concerned. But educating the passengers of the future on rail safety, the history of their railway and their local community, the environment and much more besides also continues to be of great importance. The third pillar of the Community Rail Partnership strategy is bringing communities together and supporting diversity and inclusion. The Bentham Lines Dimension Community Rail Project is a very good example of this in action. But there are many other equally good examples around the country, including a project known as the Rail Journey to Recovery. This is a joint initiative between Community Rail Cumbria and a national charity specialising in the rehabilitation of people with substance and alcohol abuse issues. The project has very successfully integrated rail-based activity within well-established programmes of rehabilitation. Another good example of a programme that reaches out into the community can be found at Commondale Station on the Esk Valley Railway in the North York Moors National Park. The unstaffed station has been adopted through a volunteer programme run by Beyond Boundaries, a locally based community project which is proving to be a great success with adults and youths with learning difficulties. The fourth and final pillar of the Community Rail strategy is supporting social and economic development. This is all about promoting and enhancing tourism and leisure by train, something many community rail groups have already got to grips with and to good effect, as well as supporting small businesses and social enterprise development. There are many examples of small businesses flourishing in and around stations, and we'd like to see more. And because you know your communities better than most, community rail groups are ideally positioned to help identify, contribute to or be a consultee on development opportunities around their railways, whether it's the enhancing of existing facilities or schemes that unlock new housing or economic growth. I'm particularly passionate to see community rail partnerships engage with organisations such as the Prince's Trust, in fostering initiatives which help people from disadvantaged backgrounds find their way into valued jobs on the railway and create personal dignity and self-esteem. Finally, there is an obvious synergy between community rail and heritage railways to be exploited. In North Yorkshire, we've seen a heritage line successfully extend its services with steam haul trains running onto the national network to Whitby. In 2018, South West Railway ran a summer Saturdays only service from Waterloo to Corfe Castle on the Swanage railway line. These exciting and collaborative initiatives recognise heritage railways as an important element of the rail industry to the benefit both the heritage and community lines. We don't expect you to embrace all of this on your own. Using the leadership provided by ACORP and the enthusiasm we have for this at the Department for Transport, we will help you build community rail skills, confidence and inclusivity, as well as boosting training among community rail partnerships and providing access to expert practical support and resource from the rail industry. Indeed, we fully expect greater collaboration, engagement, communication, managerial focus and accountability regarding community rail within train operating companies as well as Network Rail. Andrew Haynes is certainly fully committed to doing so.
DFT's new community rail strategy has come at just as a time I've joined Network Rail, and we've been doing a lot of listening, and people tell us that we're difficult to do business with. It's not clear to people who they should contact, and very often they feel as if they're given the runaround. So I think the single most important thing we can do is provide community rail groups with clear points of contact in their local areas that they can use as access points to engage with us as Network Rail. Network Rail can't help with funding of new proposals, but we do have lots of assets, and there are some brilliant examples around the network where communities are using some of those buildings and railway lines and gardens to be a real community asset, and I'd love to see more of those, and we can help provide an access to those sort of facilities. And if you have an idea, come and talk to us. Even if it's not possible, we might be able to point you into something which is achievable.
Today, there are around 60 community rail partnerships in Great Britain, and nothing would be possible without the 3,000 or so volunteers who so generously give 250,000 hours of their time every year, with an annual financial value added of around £3.4 million. Your partnership approach is vital to supporting us reach beyond the railway boundary, helping to unlock the potential of local communities by ensuring that our railways are providing social value and in the process restore the public's trust in our railways. This strategy belongs to you, and I look to community rail organisations, local government and the rail industry to breathe life into it. Its success is important to both the future prosperity of our country and for ensuring that we are providing the most appropriate transport services to the most vulnerable in our society. This is an opportune moment to extend my personal thanks and that of the department to everyone in the Community Rail family. You've achieved so much over the years, and now you're going to be equipped to achieve a lot more. So thank you.